All right, hello everyone. This is Nancy Rebecca with Intuitive Mind, and I am speaking with Maria O'Farrell Carr today. And we are talking about the Vibe with Your Tribe Ireland trip that's going to be coming up in May. And I've been able to talk with Maria a couple of times about this trip, and I thought, this trip is far too exciting to be just reading about it on a piece of paper. I wanted you to hear her voice. I wanted you to really just tap into who she is as a soul, as a personality, and even for myself. And Maria, I first met Maria actually through a phone call. And I think the phone call came through probably in 2013, 14. And it was from a woman I'd never heard of. And so when I talked to her, she said that Archangel Michael, I don't know if you remember this, Maria, but you had said Archangel Michael came to you and said that you were taking a group to Ireland. And I know that I wasn't your first trip, but that you were supposed to reach out and call me. Archangel Michael had wanted me to co-lead with you as well as bringing a group. And so we had 33 people on that trip. It was pretty incredible. And what's fascinating is I had never thought about going to Ireland before, but I said yes and learned a lot. And so I want to share that with anyone who is watching this recording. So the dates for the trip, just to say, are May 6th to May 15th, 2020. So it's just coming up in a few months. But since I'd never been to Ireland before, I kind of came home with some questions, so I thought I would ask you here. And you are from Ireland, but you do live in Canada, and you were called to take a group. What was your first year you took the group? Like, how did that happen? How were you called? Like, what called you to take groups? Because that's what you do pretty regularly now.
Yeah. Well, first of all, Nancy, thank you so much for having this lovely chat. I'm very excited. So just to answer your question, it was, I was doing events over in Canada. I was bringing in speakers with another partner, and Wayne Dyer and Deepak Chopra and Greg Braden. And I was called to bring back my son back. And so I went back to Ireland for a visit, see my family, but I'm over there quite a bit. But this was like, so you need to go and you need to go now type of thing. And when I went, my mum said to me, the president of Ireland, who's very involved in arts and culture, and he had sent out a call to the world of all the Irish who had been away to come back and bring their families and friends, and it was called a gathering. So it was the year 2013. So this is 2012. So I said to my mom, no, I see what the tours are like, the big, 52 people, and they're, all shopping and eating, and it just didn't appeal to me. And my mom said, well, actually, she said, no, do what you do, because I bring speakers in. I think I met you, first of all, in Niramata when you came up there, and I took your course. And so she said, no, do the thing where you bring speakers in like you do in Canada, but this time you bring people to Ireland and maybe do a tour, but bring your spiritual leaders with you. And I thought, that's it just vibrated in my heart. And I sort of thought, well, let's give it a go. And Archangel Michael then started coming in and sort of showing me like a video of this in this stone circle. And he had work that needed to be done. And he sort of said, he will be calling the people in, and I just need to, look after it and that part of it. And it was just quite amazing, because everything that he showed me actually happened on the day, including that there was 19 and there was going to be one guy who ended up being my lovely bus driver. And it was so powerful. And actually what happened in this circle was the goddesses came, the angels came, the Lemurians, the Atlanteans, and they all arrived. And Michael, then we did an ascension work. and the energy came back down. It was like a new energy. And then it went through these big portal stones, two of them. And the energy, they just charged and they went down this ley line. And it was removing a veil from the Michael ley line, which is called also the Apollo Athena ley line. And a shift happened. And so after that, I thought, okay, that's what this was all about. And it was actually one of my bus drivers says, you got to do this again. And I said, well, I hadn't really thought about that. And he was saying that the people that come on our tours are just the most wonderful, loving people, but they're interested in such different things. And nobody's doing what we were doing at the time. And he said, you got to do this more. Because he said, I've never had so much fun in a tour. So, and he said he would show me the ropes and all of this stuff. So, and that's how it started. And it has just, every tour is different. And we go to different places. The people are just wonderful people, but they're interested in the same things, and sort of like kindred souls and kindred spirits. And so
do all of your trips, are they pretty much spiritually based? Is that kind of a theme, or that's something that's important to you? And does Archangel Michael work with you a lot in asking the groups to assist with different power portals and ley lines and things like that?
Yeah, and each group sometimes has a different, they could be more shamanic, they could be more into the angels, they could be more into portals, or another one was interested in the group learning about what their sacred gift was. And we even had one which was spiritual singles. And we have another one that's coming up later on, and that's going to be alcohol free. So there's different themes depending on how, and of course I've done crying twice now. So what I love is that I'm, they're all slightly different, but you see, I always get that the land is calling these people to come. They think they're coming over on a holiday and seeing Ireland, but there's a bigger picture going on. And that's what really excites me and keeps me going, is that the land needed people to be coming in to help to be removing the veil. And it's not that we don't have our own healers in Ireland, we do. It's just that there is a lightness or a different energy that helps things, a fearless energy that helps shift things. And the country has completely changed since we started doing the tours.
Wow. What I know is when you contacted me about joining you again, and what I remember you saying was that there was something quite significant about this particular trip between May 9th and May 16th of 2020. And I remember you said to me, Nancy, I've really planned out this trip. There's been like this sacred selection process about the places that our group is going to be visiting. And when I read this, the whole outline, the whole itinerary, it's just, the vibration of it was so high I could barely touch it. And I thought, what has she created? Like this perfect recipe of something I would love to step right into. So you have the different variety of trips, but this one specifically, what was the...
Well, that's Michael again and Bridget. They're about 2 years ago, they kept saying that something was coming for this year, and I wasn't too sure. And then when I knew there was something coming, I happened to meet a friend of mine, Marty, who's one of the guides. He's a Shanachie, which is amazing Irish storyteller as well. And he works at the Hill of Ishnok. And then he was telling me, this was like 2 years ago, that in 2019 is going to be the gathering of the tribes of Ireland, that we're all coming together as one tribe, and there's going to be work that's going to be done at the Hill of Ishnok. And then he happened to mention, he said 2020 is going to be the world gathering of the tribe.
Oh, wow.
And it just went, woo, like I could feel that I understood from doing the tours about the land calling and then it calls certain people to come, that they just feel I had to be here at certain times. And for me, that was, this is a call, a world of, all the tribes coming together and being together all as one, and that the land is needing this, the energy is needing this, because there's a new shift ready to come in. So
Wow.
on the tour, it was, we needed to go and do a certain things in certain places that are also royal sites before we get there. And then after, then the new shift, then there'll be places that we need to go, like Carr, which is all about Queen Maeve, the goddess warrior. And then we're going to move our way down the country. And so we're hitting the major royal sites. Royal is more of a word, it's like a sacred sites, but they're connected. So there would be really like big vortexes as well, and they're on certain ley lines that are crisscrossing. But the Hill of Uisneach is the womb of Ireland. So it's where all the ley lines are birthed from, and the new birth comes in. And from there, they go along the ley lines of Ireland in different directions, and then it just branches all over the world, and then it just is connecting all these different places.
And so why, let me just kind of, for people who are listening that may not know what a ley line is, why is it important that energy, and that it can be clear, these ley lines must be clear that go around the world? Why is this important, and why are we being called to come help at that birthplace of the ley lines? Why are we being called?
And it's sort of like there was a time where we had the goddesses and or Atlantis and that, and it came that it was the time of the man, of the humans, that we created our own way of communicating and connecting with our own connection with the land, and it was our time. So a lot of the vortexes and ley lines, they have a veil on it because we weren't ready. And that's okay. That's not a bad thing. It's just that we were ready to do create the way we have. Mm-hmm. Another example was, before we communicated a lot through the third eye, and then we've now come along where we haven't been able to do that, but now we have created our own version of that, which is the internet, that we can now connect with each other instantly, and we're now moving so quickly with awareness, and now we're able to open this up, and we're able to see more without fear. And the ley lines are the same thing, or the vortex, or these sacred sites. They are now ready to remove the veils. So it's not like one group might come and do a work and they'll remove a veil. Another group comes along and removes the veil as the land is ready.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it is just that it is the time because we're ready.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then they have a connection. So it's like what's happening in, say, the Newgrange or the Hill of Tara is going to be affecting what's happening at the Hill of Uisneach, and it's going to help. It's going to affect, say, in Sligo. But then those ley lines all connect. Even, where I live in a very large vortex here. And so what happens in one place does affect on the other, on further down the line as well.
So the other question that I have is about the land, because I travel a lot taking groups to South Africa. And one of the things you and I have talked about this before is that there's something that happens when our groups go to Africa and they put their feet on the soil, that things start changing quite rapidly. And I had always noticed this, but then you brought this up about Ireland, the ancient history of Ireland, and with the Hill of Uisneach and the Beltane Festival. But you were just talking about what happens to people. So what have you noticed with groups when they put, even if they're not Irish, even if they don't even have Irish in their ancestry, it seems to be something that speaks to everyone. At least I noticed when we went on our last trip. So can you talk about that a little more?
So the land is still, in a way, in certain ways, it's been untouched. So one of the biggest events that happened in Ireland is what didn't happen, and that was the Romans coming over. So the Romans did all of Europe and everything, and they brought in new systems, and straight roads would be one example. And Ireland was left quite untouched. And even when we had, it's an island of invaders, so we had the Normans, we had the Vikings, but they actually became immersed in the culture of Ireland, as opposed to losing a lot of our culture. I mean, we did a little bit later on, but so the land has been it's just got this deeper grounding. So when I have somebody come along, I often hear, well, you know, because we do a lot of grounding in the very beginning, because people have flown when they just arrive and been up in the air, and, you know, it's good to keep them grounded. But it's more than that, because I'll have people come along and they say, oh, I'm very good at grounding. And then we'll do a couple of grounding and they'll go, wow, I've never felt grounded ever before like this. And I think that's one of the biggest things, is that you're just get connected so much to Mother Earth and to Gaia as well. And there's other unique things about Ireland too, with the magnetic grids as well, which is another one as well, which we talk more about on the tour. But people are also able to feel a lot more or see. So like we have people who are very, you know, who are visual, clairvoyant or clairaudio, that they can hear, that those gifts that they have are like amplified. It's like there's less distractions, that they seem to be able to connect with the land, but also connect to the spirit guides, or whether the fairies, or the different energies of the goddesses. And it seems that there just seems to be a veil gone, that they could slip down, connect in with the land, and the land does the work. Like I always sort of say, just come to Ireland, because the land is going to help you shift. Whether it's a time in your life of you have in a crossroads, and you're not too sure which way to go, or you're making decisions. It's like when they come over, things just happen, that when they go home, they just have had a chance to press the pause button in their lives. That they had to have time to reconnect with themselves and their heart and their love for themselves. And when they go back, it seems everything's just clearer, that they know which direction they want to go. And that's just so special.
Well, and I really think it's the magic. I mean, the energy of magic. And I was just saying before I hit the record button, I said, Maria, the Irish magic is already beginning. I had gone out to get something that I needed before we came on the video, and I'll just hold up, this green ribbon was laying on the table that I had just been sitting next to, and there wasn't a green ribbon there before. And I said, okay, all right, well, this call is moving forward, this video is moving forward, and the magic is beginning.
And I hear that a lot with people coming on the tour. It's like, oh my gosh, you just popped up on Facebook, or you know, I happen to just call them for another reason, and it's like, I'm just getting messages that I need to be going, but I don't know how I'm going to do it, or I have to get time off. And it's just like, I said, well, do you feel like you've been called? Because I already can feel who's being called too. And and when they just come, they just know. But it's that little thing where, like they say, there's no coincidence, but there is these little things that sort of just keep popping up, that brings your attention out of all the things going on, to sort of say, well, maybe I am supposed to do this. And it's a time, we're so busy that, you know, when they come over, it's like they have time where everything else going on in their lives just has to stay on hold, and it is their time. And they're surrounded by, you know, very loving people, and we take such good care of them, that they have time to, you know, recharge and to refocus and to reconnect, which is the big thing too. And so I know there's all the magic, and we've talked about the spiritual piece, and I have so many questions for you, but honestly, I want to try to keep this video a little kind of short and doable for people who are on the go. But the other thing that I wanted to mention was what I really loved about the last
trip that I was with you on, that people could bring their partners, their husbands, their wives, who have no spiritual interest at all, but they really love history. They love ancestry. They love Irish music. They love Guinness. I love Guinness. They love the beers, you know, and
Don't
so
forget the baby Guinness.
yeah. I have not had a Guinness since that trip, so I can tell you I am looking forward to having a really good one, because you get quite spoiled with it so fresh.
The people who are coming along, I call them like the drag-alongs, because their friend has brought them along, their sister or their husband come along, and I find that they actually nearly get more out of it because they have no expectations.
Yeah.
I asked one lady, I said, well, how come you're here? And she said, I have no idea why I'm here. And I just said yes to my friend. And it was actually, she had a huge, big shift happening. I still get goosebumps today. And because they have no expectations, they're just coming along to enjoy it. And it seems to be that, they just love it. And
there's no mistake that
no.
If you're supposed to be there, you're there. And sometimes you don't know why you're there, but your spirit knows, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
So let me just ask you quickly. I just want to wrap up this particular call, because I have so many questions for you, like about fairies and the little people, and about the megalithic stone structures. I was so shocked about how many megalithic structures there are. So I want to ask you more questions about that. But as we wrap this up, how do people get a hold of you? I know Maria's irishtours.com. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is that the best way to just go there and then click on to get the registration form, or to call you? How's the best way to reach you?
The best one to do is go into Maria's Irish Tours, or you can go into IrelandSacredTours.com. Or you can just Google Maria Farrell Carr and send me a Facebook message or an email.
Well, and I'll definitely include.
And they can connect with you as well, going into intuitiveminds.org.
Yeah.
So basically, when they just come in, there's some information on the websites, and mostly they connect with, send me an email or a connection. And then I mostly take a little bit of time and talk to them and see, tell them a bit more about the tour and ask any questions. And then, they just register. And once they register, they're so looked after once that. We help them with the flights. We help them, with getting from the airport. And once they come, all they have to do is be up in the morning, and that's it. They don't have to worry about the rest of the day.
That's wonderful.
So once they decide to come, there's myself, there's Elaine, there's Nancy, or, a different host, and everything is looked after for them.
Perfect. All right. So is it all right if I just finish this recording here, put it on pause, and then you can hang around for a few more of my questions?
Yes, and thank you so much for having me today, too.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. Okay,
I will. In May.
Okay, I'll call you. I will contact you in a moment about some of my other questions.
Okay. Slán.